There's a chimpanzee named Washoe who, in 1966, became the first non-human animal to learn American Sign Language.
What? A chimpanzee learning sign language. These animals are smart as hell. What's good, y'all? It's your boy Souldiah, and if y'all ever been chilling and thought to yourselves, do animals have a consciousness? Well, I have, and we bound to find out, because we gonna be reacting to, do animals know they exist? This is gonna be a good one, so without any time waste, let's get right into it.
Right now, there's a dog lying on a couch somewhere, staring at the wall. And if you asked its owner what it's thinking about, they'd probably say something like nothing, or food, or squirrels.
I've always wondered what dogs are thinking about. Like, I don't personally have a pet, but for the people who have pets, do y'all ever just be chilling and wondering, I wonder what my dog is thinking about? Because I feel like that's something I be thinking about all the time.
But what if that's wrong? What if behind those eyes there's something looking back? What if that dog knows, on some level, that it exists? Or, and this is the question that should actually keep you up at night, what if it doesn't? What if you are the only kind of thing in the entire universe that knows it's alive?
That would be crazy, I can't even lie.
In 1970, a psychologist named Gordon Gallup Jr. came up with what is still considered the gold standard test for self-awareness in animals. It's called the mirror test. While it's unconscious, you put a small mark somewhere on its body. A dot of paint on its forehead, a sticker on its ear. Somewhere it can only see in a mirror, not by looking down. Then you put it in front of a mirror and watch what happens. Most animals see their reflection and think it's another animal. They posture, they bark. They try to scare it off. Eventually, they get...
That makes sense because y'all gotta keep in mind, a dog barely sees its own reflection. So when it finally sees its reflection, it's gonna be like, hey, yo, this is not me. This is another dog or some shit like that.
Bored and walk away, never once understanding that the thing they were threatening was themselves. But a handful of animals do something different. They see the mark. They look at the mirror. They look back at themselves. And they reach up and touch the mark on their own body. They understand that the reflection is them.
That's what you call them smart-ass animals.
The animals that pass? Chimpanzees, bonobos, orangutans, gorillas, but only occasionally.
Only occasionally. So gorillas are only smart sometimes. But I'm not surprised that like chimpanzees and all those other apes pass the test, because I've been hearing that they're some of the smartest animals, no cap.
Dolphins, orca whales, elephants, and one bird, the Eurasian magpie. A crow-sized creature with a brain the size of your thumb that apparently knows what it looks like. The animals that fail, dogs, cats, almost every other mammal on Earth, including, for the first 2 years of their lives, human babies. Now here's
Damn, that's crazy.
Where it gets complicated, because a lot of scientists think the mirror test is a terrible way to measure self-awareness.
How? I don't get how that can be a terrible way. Like, if someone's looking at the mirror, if they know it's themselves, they have awareness. If they think it's something else, they're stupid. I think it's as smart as that.
Built almost entirely on smell, not sight. Asking a dog to recognize itself in a mirror might be like asking you to identify yourself from a recording of your own heartbeat. The format of the test is wrong, not the dog. In 2017, a researcher named Alexandra Horowitz modified the test. Instead of a mirror, she gave dogs a scent version, their own urine, altered urine, and completely foreign urine, and watched which one they spent the most time investigating. Dogs spent significantly more time with the altered version of their own scent. They noticed something about themselves had changed. By their own rules, in their own sensory world, dogs may know exactly who they are. But knowing who you are is different from knowing that you are. There's a distinction philosophers have been arguing about for centuries. It's the difference between being a self and knowing you're a self. Between having
What the hell does that even mean?
experiences and knowing you have experiences. There's a word for this. Metacognition. Thinking about your own thinking. Being aware of your own awareness. It's what you're doing right now, actually. You're not just reading these words. You know that you're reading these words. You can zoom out from yourself and observe yourself from the outside. That's the question.
Yeah, this whole thing is confusing me. I'm like thinking, yo, what are they talking about?
Can animals do that? And the answer, increasingly, is yes, but it's messier than anyone expected. In 2007, researchers at the University of Georgia ran an experiment on rhesus monkeys. They gave the monkeys a memory
Racist monkeys? What the?
test, and after each question gave them a choice. Take a hard test worth more points, or take an easy test worth fewer. The monkeys consistently chose easier questions when they were uncertain of the answer, harder questions when they felt confident. They weren't just answering
Holy shit, those monkeys are smart as hell.
questions, they were evaluating how well they knew the answer before they gave it. That's metacognition. That's an animal thinking about its own thinking. And it doesn't stop at monkeys. Rats have been shown to opt out of tests they haven't studied for, choosing a smaller guaranteed reward over gambling on a question they're not sure about. Pigeons can report their own memory failures. Dolphins have been observed
Pigeons? I swear pigeons were stupid as hell. Ain't no way.
hesitating before answering, in a way that mirrors human uncertainty. These animals aren't just reacting to the world. They're modeling their own internal states. They know when they know something. They know when they don't. But here's what science still can't crack.
I didn't even know these animals like know something like that, because I just be thinking each time I see an animal, like, do they know what they are? I don't know if that makes sense, but like, do they know themselves or something like that? But I guess we found the answer.
All of that, the mirror recognition, the metacognition, the self-modeling, it's all behavioral. We can watch what animals do. We cannot get inside what they feel. There's a concept philosophers call qualia, the raw subjective texture of experience, the specific redness of red, the particular pain of a paper cut, the feeling of being you, right now, in this moment. Is there something it feels like to be a dog? Or is the dog just running biological software, processing inputs, producing outputs, with nobody home? The philosopher Thomas Nagel made this famous in a 1974 paper with one of the greatest titles in academic history, What is it like to be a bat? His argument
How would he know what it's like to be a bat?
was simple and devastating. Bats navigate by echolocation. They experience the world as a landscape of sound reflections that we literally cannot imagine.
Yeah, no, like I generally imagine like what that would be like. Like you can't see, experience, like you're basically almost blind, right? Experiencing the world with just sound waves. I've heard that some humans can do that too, which is crazy to think about.
And no matter how much we study bat brains and bat behavior, we will never know what it feels like to be one. The inner experience is inaccessible. And if we can't know what it's like to be a bat, how do we know there's anything it's like to be anything other than us? Some scientists think we're massively underestimating animals. In 2012, a group of neuroscientists gathered at Cambridge University and signed what became known as the Cambridge Declaration on Consciousness. Their conclusion, the neurological structures that produce consciousness in humans are not unique to humans.
Like I'd be wondering like every day, how did humanity evolve to the point to be able to like do all this, like study brains, know brain waves, like do like it's just crazy to just wrap your head around just how far humanity has come. Like wow.
Birds and mammals, and possibly other creatures, possess the same neural substrates for conscious states. In plain English, the hardware that runs consciousness in your brain exists in their brains too. The lights, they argued, are probably on. Franz de Waal, one of the world's leading primatologists, spent decades watching chimpanzees and argued that the question of whether animals have inner lives was almost backwards.
Decades watching chimpanzees, bro. He better have hoped none of them chimpanzees saw him, because from what we know, chimpanzees don't play. They're ruthless as hell.
We should be shocked, he said, if they didn't. Evolution doesn't tend to invent something from scratch. Consciousness almost certainly evolved gradually, just like legs, like eyes, like lungs, which means it probably exists on a spectrum, and we are not at one end of it and everything else at the other. We're all somewhere along the same line. And then there's the one piece of evidence that's hardest to explain away: grief. In 2018, a killer whale named Tahlequah lost her calf. The baby died shortly after birth, and for 17 days, Tahlequah carried the body of her dead calf on her head as she...
I have a story regarding this. Apparently, when my dad was younger, right, they used to have like dogs in their house, but like, I'm pretty sure some of the baby dogs like died in like a accident, right? Like a car crashed and ran them over or something like that. Yeah, it was sad. But the mother dog wouldn't eat anything. Like the mother wouldn't eat at all. She was basically starving herself until she finally died of like grief or something. When I heard that story, I'm like, wow. The fact that like animals can feel like the consciousness to like, if they lost, they can really experience grief to the point that they don't want to eat. I just found that so interesting.
Swam 17 days across more than 1,000 miles of ocean. The rest of her pod took turns helping her carry it when she got tired. Scientists called it a tour of grief, the longest recorded in any non-human species, and no one had a clean behavioral explanation for it. It wasn't about survival. It wasn't about feeding. There was no evolutionary advantage to carrying a dead body for over 2 weeks across open ocean, except that maybe she knew her calf was gone and couldn't let go. If that's not the behavior of a creature that knows something existed and now doesn't, what is? So where does that leave us? The science says, yes, some animals can recognize themselves. Yes, they can think about their own thinking. Yes, they feel something, probably. But the innermost question, the one you actually want answered, does the dog lying on the couch know it's alive? That one we still can't fully reach. Here's what we do know.
No way, after all these experiments, we don't know the answer to that.
The more closely we look at animals, the more the gap narrows. Every decade of research closes the distance a little more. Abilities we once thought were uniquely human, language, tool use, culture, mourning, self-recognition, keep turning up in other species. The wall between us and them has been getting shorter for as long as we've been studying them, which raises an uncomfortable question. If we've been wrong this whole time, if animals do exist in some meaningful sense, if there's something it's like to be them, if they feel and grieve and know themselves, then the way we treat them isn't just an ethical question. It's something we've been getting wrong for all of human history.
That would be crazy, like, imagine.
And the only reason we got away with it this long is because we couldn't ask them. There's a chimpanzee named Washoe who, in 1966, became the first non-human animal to learn American Sign Language.
What? A chimpanzee learning sign language? These animals are smart as hell.
She learned over 350 signs. She taught some of them to her son. One day, a researcher who had been gone for a long time came back to visit. Washoe hadn't seen her in months. When Washoe saw her, she signed, "Cry." Then she pointed at the researcher's eyes. "Cry." She wanted to know why the researcher wasn't crying, why she wasn't as moved as Washoe was. Whether or not Washoe understood her own existence, she understood yours.
That's crazy, like, wow. You know what I always wondered as well? Especially, like, not even just the animals, do insects have their own consciousness? Like, you know, those flies that, like, we be killing every day when they, like, you know, fly around the house and, like, bust in your ear and being annoying? Yeah, do those flies have a consciousness? Because I don't even know, even after this video. But hey, if y'all enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a like, comment, and subscribe. And I'm gonna catch you on my next video. Peace.